my gosh, Brandy and I are back again today with your Wellness Wednesday. And we have actually been doing this now for a few months. And our goal is to bring you all of the new, all of the important, I can't even find a word for it, all things mental health and wellness, guys. Our mental health is just so important. And I know that there's a lot of different aspects to it. I met Brandy a few months ago. Actually, I actually met her quite a while before that, but we really connected on a deeper level after we really sat down and talked and found out that we are both on the same mission to help you feel your absolute best. And so I know I have a whole bunch of new people that have recently joined me. So for those of you who don't know me, stop by, say hi. If you don't know Brandy, stop by, say hi. Drop a little love in the comment box. We would love to connect with you if we have not had the opportunity. I am Jazzy Will, and I am a certified mental health and wellness coach and a food first specialist, guys. And my true passion, the thing that literally drives me out of bed in the mornings, is helping you actually live your best life, both mentally and physically. And I'm going to turn this over to Brandy and let her introduce herself.
Yeah, my name is Brandy Benton, and I'm a somatic coach, and I specialize in anxiety and emotional processing. So I really help people get to the root of what is causing their anxiety and then helping them to emotionally process that out of their system. So it's no longer a problem. It's no longer something that is, making them feel crazy or bonkers.
And isn't that the truth? It's like, oh my gosh. And that's so important in today's society, in today's world. Guys, we have kind of been off and on again talking about the 7 pillars of mental health and wellness. And today we're going to dive back into those pillars. We've spent some time talking about a few other things that's happening as far as your mental health and wellness is concerned. If you have not had a chance, go back and try and catch some of those live videos. I will say this, Brandy, and I just learned this yesterday. Facebook, and I don't know for sure about any of the other social media streams that we're streaming on, but Facebook is only going to allow these videos to stay up and live for 30 days. So guys, make sure that you go in and go back and try and catch whatever you've got, because we've got some powerful information out there for you. And today is no exception to that rule. Like I said, we're going to jump back into the 7 pillars of mental health and wellness. And we've already discussed 5 of those pillars. So let me go through the 7 pillars with you first. First is exercise, supplementation, diet and nutrition, sleep, mindset, community, and environment. And today we're going to talk about environment and your mental health and wellness. And we've got a number of different topics here that we really want to talk about. So before though we kind of dive in, Brandy, would you like to say anything? You and I were kind of talking before we actually jumped on live.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit.
Yeah, I made a comment about the fact that I kind of feel like environment is one of those mental health pillars that is either not brought to the forefront when it comes to our mental health and wellness, or, we just kind of like let it slide and don't even think anything about it. And your comment was,
yeah, absolutely. And I was saying, well, as a woman, I feel like that's not true. I've always been really attuned to my environment. And the same thing with my sister. She's like very sensitive to her environment. It's one of the first things that she goes and changes when she is in a new space or in a new home, right? Really filling into that environment, and not to generalize or really have any kind of sexism around it. But I said, yeah, I feel like that is true. Maybe if you're like, as a woman, you're attuned to your environment, men maybe not as much, right? Not so much focus on that. And the reality is the workplaces that we are working in, the places that we're spending a majority of our time, a lot of the time, is workplaces where they're designed by men, right? The environment, the structure, the rooms, and it's designed from a functionality standpoint. And it is not necessarily designed from a point of like, okay, how do we feel good in our bodies? What makes us feel inspired? What makes us feel alive? What makes us feel motivated? It's much more about like, okay, how many bodies do we need in here? How much space do we need to take up? How many rooms do we need doors so that we can have private conversations. And the reality is, when we're function as humans, that's actually not how it works. That's not what drives our energy or inspiration or our flow or any of those kind of energizers that we need to be inspired to do our work.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. You know what? If you're one of those people that is very in tune to your environment, guys, drop a one in the comment box. I'm just kind of curious. I know personally, as a mom and as a grandma and just as a woman in general, I kind of was floating through life and not really understanding. I mean, I felt like I was in tune with my environment, but I don't feel like I had a really good grasp on it. And so I'm
Mhm.
really hoping that some of the things that Brandy and I have to share with you today will maybe help you get a better grasp on your environment and some of the things on your environment on your environment, and help you like really fully understand some of the things that maybe either need to be shifted, need to be removed, or need to be brought in to really help with your mental health and wellness when it comes to environment. So, the first topic that we wanted to talk about was toxic versus healthy, stable relationships. I mean, this is really, really important. I mean, the people that we surround ourselves with impact our lives even more so than what was originally thought. I know for years and years and years now, being in the industry that I'm in, I was always taught that you are the average of the 5 people that you hang around with, right?
Mhm.
Which is it's true. My thought was always like, why is it that the people that I'm with kind of think the same way that I do, and move in the same direction that I do? Those were the people that I was surrounding myself with, right? So it's really important, I think, Brandy, that we do become very aware of, are we in toxic relationships? Are there toxic relationships in our life that we need to, hold at arm's length, that are not allowing us to progress in our life? Or
Mhm.
are we in really kind, loving relationships? I don't know. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I love that we're talking about this. So the first thing that came to my mind was birds of a feather flock together. So we tend to gravitate towards and also magnetize the people that are similar to us. And so I think when we see people in our environment that are complaining, that are negative, it's often a sign for us to really do a check, an internal check. Like, how am I bonding with people? So often, we like to bond with people by commiserating, by complaining, by talking about, someone has a hardship. We don't want them to feel alone in the hardship. So we have to share our hardship too, right? We don't want to talk about our blessings or our positive things because we don't want to make that person feel bad about maybe the situation that they're in. And so doing kind of a quick check around, okay, one, if I'm surrounded by a lot of people that are negative, toxic, and complaining, is that because I'm doing that same thing? And in some cases, we can't necessarily help that we're surrounded by people with those traits, right? Maybe it's our workplace. And we just find that we sit right next to someone who is like the negative Nancy. And what are we going to do about that? And I think in those situations, it's about controlling the controllables, right? So a lot of times we open the door to the negativity by one, letting people complain to us or complaining back to them. We open the door by starting a complaint to them. And sometimes it's just little switches. So, one of the things that I love is when someone will say to you, instead of like, what's going on or how's your day, just saying, what's good today? What's good today? What's been good about your day today? Or like, oh, you asking them, inviting them to share something positive with you. And I see this in my workplace where I have different relationships with people than other people have with them. I'll see that there are certain people that when I talk to them, all we talk about is good, positive things. They tell me about the exciting things that are happening in their life. They tell me about the vulnerable things that are happening in their life. They share what's on their heart. And then when I hear them talking to other people, they're complaining and they're speaking negatively. But that's because I have opened the door for them to share something positive and loving and what's on their heart. And maybe what the other person has opened the door to is commiserating and complaining. So we can control the controllables, right? Even if you're surrounded by people in the workplace that are maybe prone to complaining, you can switch the conversation and actually get more positivity out of them. And then within your social life, if there's a lot of toxicity and complaining, you can recognize that maybe you're the common denominator. Maybe you're magnetizing that for one reason or the other.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's so powerful right there in itself. So the next one is something that I can relate to because I've related to this my whole entire life, and that is clutter and our mental overload, right? I've always been the kind of person that I can't have clutter in my house. Like, I don't like things sitting on my table or on my counters, or my kids for years and years and years would, like, they still make fun of me because I'm the woman that was sweeping my floors on the way out the door because I didn't want to come home to that clutter and that mess, right? I knew that that helped me stay in a better mental space. So, thoughts?
Yeah, well, I have multiple thoughts on this, especially coming from someone who
I
was
knew you
raised in
would.
the house, who is my mom is a self-proclaimed like clean freak, is what she called herself. So yes, I have multiple thoughts on this. One thing that is really important to know, though, like about our bodies, right? How we're made up as humans. Our bodies are constantly looking for safety, right? The nervous system is constantly looking for safety. And one of the ways and how it does that is through our five senses, right? Through what you see, what you smell, what you taste, what you hear, what you feel. And so our environment is picking up these things, right? We see things in the corner of our eye that are messy. We hear the noise pollution and right, we smell something that like smells dirty or gross. And so, of course, our environment is going to have a huge impact on whether or not we're feeling safe or unsafe. And it's also going to have an impact on our cognitive load, right? Whether or not we're having to process a lot of information, because every time we look around the room, there's a lot of stuff out that needs to actually be processed. So, absolutely, it's huge when you can have more, you can have your environment streamlined and clean and decluttered, and things that are not going to be get you down a line of thought, right? Where like every time you see that book out, you're like, oh crap, I'm supposed to be reading that book, right? And every time you see the Kleenex out, you're like, oh yeah, that. And so it's all these different lines of thought every time you see it. That's a lot to contend with. So yeah, streamlining is great. But here's the thing you probably don't want to hear me say is a lot of people have been raised in homes where to have a dirty environment was unsafe because of their caregiver.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Their caregiver might freak out if there's something on the floor and it's dirty. Their caregiver might freak out if there are dishes in the sink. Their caregiver might freak out if the stove hasn't been cleaned. And so, for a lot of us, when we're seeing the clutter around our house, it's not just mental clutter, it is our nervous system remembering a time that maybe we got in trouble, we got yelled at, or there was consequences to there being a mess. And believe it or not, one of the ways that I've actually started to heal my nervous system around this issue. so that I don't have to manically clean, right? Because that's what will happen when the nervous system gets activated and everything is dirty and I have to clean it or I'm going to be in trouble. Right? And you start that manic, you can feel the difference when you're cleaning and it feels good. You're like, oh, like a little Snow White. You're like, let's clean, let's make a beautiful environment. And you can feel the difference between that and like, I have to clean this stuff now. And your body reacting to a fear. And so
Yeah.
I actually went through a period of time where I was leaving things mildly messy and I would just come into the room and I would notice how my body would react to that. And I would just surrender to that sensation and open my body. So this is called like opening the container. Like if you imagine that your body is a container. And one of the things that happens when we start to get anxious and activate, we get tight, we contract, we get small. And instead you open the container, and where that sensation is starting to contract and get tight or jittery, you just let it loose and allow that sensation to spread through the body, allow the nervous system to reorganize itself and to feel a little safer and a little calmer with a little bit of dirt around you. And you'll actually usually notice something happen in your body, like a shift, right? Like a sigh or something that happens that alerts your body that you're like, okay, I'm feeling safer now. And so that was a practice that I had to do so I could get past the manic cleaning and I could declutter, because that's actually what feels good versus I don't feel safe. You see the difference there?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. That makes total sense. And for me, it's like I know I'm to that point where it's like, okay, I can't let some of that. I know I've got to let some of it go. So for me, it's been like when I walk in and I feel that sensation. It's like I just have learned to take a step back and go, it's going to be okay and it's all going to get done. And so I like the visualization of like the container. I mean, that helps process through all of that so much easier. I love it. Next one, and I'm a big, huge advocate of this, and that is nature and mental restoration. I mean, guys, there's no better place to, in my eyes, this is my point of view, but there's no better place to restore your mental health and wellness than out in nature.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can do that a number of ways, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's like, get
Yeah.
outside and go for a walk. Go to the forest and go for a walk. Go to the beach. Go to a lake. Go outside and ride a bike. Go for a hike. Do whatever it takes. Just get outside. I mean, even if it's, and I'm a big advocate of this one too. Like, I try and ground myself every morning. I don't care what season it is. I take my protein drink. I step outside for 3 minutes, barefooted in the grass, and solidly ground myself.
Yeah. And what does that feel like in your body? How do you notice the difference?
For me, it's like I can literally feel, because the earth has energy, right? And I can literally feel that energy being absorbed through my skin, through my feet, and it comes all the way up into my head and my brain. And it's a release, is what it feels like to me.
Yeah, I love that. That's beautiful.
The next one, and I really think, well, actually the next couple, one is noise pollution and mental fatigue, and the next one is digital overload. And I really kind of think that digital overload kind of plays into the noise pollution in our brains. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I've actually had my phone on Do Not Disturb since like 2015. Because very early on, I could feel, and at the time, it was definitely nervous system dysregulation, but I still just love having this feature. But I could feel in my body what would happen, how I would start to get activated and triggered by notifications,
Mhm.
right? The sound of the ringer, the notifications for social media, the notifications for text messages,
Mhm.
and then also what that does to, for me, like a lot of my triggering is relational, right? So then there's the like, did they text me back? And I'm waiting on that text, and right. And so it kept me
Yeah.
hooked. And so I turned that feature off,
Yeah.
like seriously.
Yeah.
My first smartphone ever, I made sure that like I had it on do not disturb. Because I feel that hooking and that trigger like already.
And I've really learned to take a step back from all of it. I know sometimes that there's like you said, there's just so much. It's constant, constant, constant. I think this is fabulous, and I think more people need to take advantage of that do not disturb. I mean, if you've really got something that you need to focus on and hone in on, guys, that's a powerful way to be able to do that. And I use that regularly throughout the day. It's like I've got, like right now on the live, I put my phone on do not disturb so I don't have my phone constantly going ping, 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 because that's a distraction. It takes away from what I'm really here to do and accomplish. And I want my full presence right here with all of you guys, right? So it's really important that we do that. When we can take our time and put our full presence into something, we really start to see change happening. And so I really think that that's important. Brandy, there's a few more here that we want to cover, but I want to be respectful of everybody else's time. So maybe we should come back next time and finish discussing this. There's so much, guys, involved in environment, which is like, it was an eye opener for me. Like I said, I felt like I was very in tune with my environment, but there were a lot of aspects of it that I was not aware of. And I think it's really important that we do become aware of all of them. What do you think, Brandy?
Yeah, I agree. And I think just as a takeaway, really noticing this week, just being more mindful and noticing what happens to my body when I walk into a space, right? What happens when I walk into the kitchen and it's a mess? What happens? What happens when I walk into my workplace and I see my coworkers? Just starting to notice what happens in your body, right? Are you starting to feel the tension? Is there a buildup that happens? Are you noticing that your environment doesn't feel cozy? It doesn't feel safe. It doesn't feel like a place where it's conducive to you being inspired or doing work, and starting to make those subtle shifts and controlling what you can control.
Yeah. And, I mean, I think really it's a matter of becoming aware, like you said, of your space, your habits, your social circles. Just take time this week, or actually over the next couple of weeks. We'll be back again in 2 weeks. But over the next couple of weeks, guys, really focus in and hone in on your environment, hone in on those things. Habits are huge when it comes to environments. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that the next time. But I really think that that is a fabulous challenge for people to take on, is just to become aware and make little itty bitty shifts. It doesn't have to be a big thing. Maybe it's a matter of, okay, I'm going to clean off this spot on this table, or I'm going to take these letters and this mail. And my biggest gripe is the mail, not email. That one I have a problem with too, because that one overwhelms me. I get 300 and some emails every single day. So that one completely overwhelms me. I completely avoid it like the plague. It's like, nope, I'm not even going there. And then I look down in 3 days and I've got 2,000 messages. But just that little bit. I don't even know where they come from. But it's just that little bit. It's just those little itty bitty teeny tiny steps, guys, that you can take that's going to make a huge difference in the world. Yeah. Anything else? Anything you'd like to add?
That's it.
Great. Guys, you know what? We will be back again in 2 weeks with kind of the rest of this list. Like I said, environment is so powerful when it comes to our mental health and wellness. And we want to make sure that you have a full understanding of what it actually involves in details. So come back, join us again in 2 weeks. In the meantime, you all go out, take on the rest of your day with grace and gratitude, and we will catch you guys all later.